This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, let's have some fun. It's time for Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo, getting ready to take you through your Monday night right on in to your Tuesday morning, late hours of Monday night right here on the program. We've got some great live action that we're going to get to momentarily here. The Houston Rockets and Golden State Warriors. Let's get physical, huh? 36 all, 7 minutes to go in the second quarter. It's a low-scoring affair. Looks like some guys on Golden State taking exception to something. Had a little skirmish there on the court. And these two defensively oriented teams are going at it. It'll be Warriors ball here. And this game right now, a low-scoring affair with a total that closed right around 204 and a half with the news that Jimmy Butler was going to be back. Now things continuing to get physical atop the key. Draymond Green, the recipient of that foul. That was on Amin Thompson, I believe. But this total right now on, I would say, decent track. It's still early, but decent track to land us in under at 39-36 now as the Rockets respond with a 3. Dylan Brooks, your leading scorer for Houston with 11. On the Golden State side of things, Podziemski finally showing a pulse. He's got 10, as does Quentin Post off the bench. Steph Curry, just 4 points. Jimmy Butler, just 4 points. 1 field goal each. They're combined 2 for 7. Houston really locking down on the Golden State Superstars. Over on the diamond, Colorado threatening as we speak against Atlanta, 6-3 Braves. It was 3-0 Rockies, courtesy of a first inning 3-run bomb. And Atlanta has scored 6 unanswered. Now Colorado threatening, tying run at the plate. I came in on Atlanta live plus 2.5 in the second inning after Colorado's early 3-0 lead for you soccer fans out there. So Atlanta right now giving me about 5 runs to work with, even if they were to blow this lead here on the live plus 2.5 play. Really ticked off about that JP Sears bet that I had. Over 17.5 outs, and he gets yanked at 17 outs, under 90 pitches. That was frustrating to say the least, as that game has just come to an end. Athletics beat Texas 2-1. Patrick Corbin got his first loss of the year, but he pitched well. And I know a lot of people were on the Athletics team total, over 4.5, and looking to fade Corbin in every which way, in every capacity possible. But Corbin, 4 2/3, 2 earned. I mean, not a great start, but certainly by Patrick Corbin standards, a fine start. Those were the 2 runs that would hold for the Athletics. JP Sears, 5 2/3, 5 hits, 1 earned, 7 Ks. 89 pitches, and he got yanked before he could finish the 6th inning. That is frustrating. Mason Miller put the Rangers away in the 9th. Texas falls to 10-4 at home. How about the Athletics improving to 9-5 on the road? We've talked about this, how home teams have dominated Major League Baseball this season, winning at over a 60%. I believe it was 63% clip thus far. Well, the Athletics, 9-5 on the road, as now they are above 500, 15-14 on the year. They're 6-9 at home. At one point, they were like 2-7 or 2-8 at home, so they've improved. But they've been struggling in that minor league ballpark down there in Sacramento. Let me see what got JP Sears pulled here. 6th inning, got a strikeout, double, fly out, RBI single, and then he gets pulled with the tying run on first base. Interesting. No leash for the Athletics there. And then the Mitch Spence comes in, gives up a single and a walk, and next thing you know, bases are juiced, and he ultimately gets Adolis Garcia to pop out. But my goodness, should have left Sears in. One more out. What the hell are we doing out there in Sacramento? That's a frustrating loss. Got home in the nightcap on Detroit. How about that first 5 play? They end up losing the game 8-5, but after 5 innings, the Tigers led 3-2. So we get home on our... That always feels good, right? It's one thing to hit a first 5 bet and then that team goes on to win the game. When you hit a first 5 play and then they lose the game, it tells you your handicap there was really sharp. And Flaherty just ran out of gas, it looked like, in the 6th inning. Didn't record an out in the 6th. Gave up 2 earned in that inning, 4 earned total on the game, as he went 5+. Renault Blanco went 5, allowed 3. He got a no decision. Flaherty got the L. He's pitched fine this year. He's now 1-3, but his ERA just 3.3. As Detroit boasting the best record in the American League coming into this contest, loses the opener in Houston. Little wild card round rematch from last October. We mentioned the Rockies-Braves game. It's first and second, one out. Michael Toglia, the big power-hitting first baseman, light contact guy, but a lot of pop when he does connect. He's got a 2-2 count on him. And did he? Yeah, he went down swinging. I was going to say he didn't foul that off, did he? Its slider almost hit his shoe tops. So Hernandez doing a good job for the Braves here, battling back. First and second, no outs. Now first and second, 2 outs. The other game going on, LA, the Dodgers hosting the Marlins, up 2-0 in the fourth. Dustin May on the bump. He got worked his last time out. I believe that was at Chicago. I believe that was his last start, if I'm not mistaken. I'll pull that up to double check. But, yep, it was his last time out. 5 innings, 7 earned. Guy was nearly unhittable. Throughout his first 3 starts, he had gone 5 or 6 innings in all 3, never allowed more than 3 hits, never allowed more than 1 run. Last time out, 5 innings, 10 hits, 7 earned in that 11-10 crazy game at Wrigley on April the 22nd, 6 days ago. So he's looking like himself at home against the Marlins. He's given up 2 hits, no runs, 2-0 lead for the Dodgers there. And that's it for live action. Earlier in the day, my Mets made a hell of a statement. 19 runs, 21 hits. They beat Washington 19-5 in the series finale to salvage the split after blowing what was frankly an inexcusable loss yesterday. Up 6-0, up 7-1, losing it 8-7 on a play where Ryan Stanek was late to cover the bag. Pete Alonso overthrew him, and just chaos ensued, and the Nationals were able to score the winning run and walk it off on a play that should have given the Nats a guy on third with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. But the Mets bounced back in a big way. How about Brandon Nimmo tying the franchise record? Carlos Delgado did it in the Subway Series 17 years ago. I remember watching that game vividly. 9 RBI in a game. Had a 3-run shot, a grand slam, and a 2-run double in 3 consecutive innings. Absolute madness as the Mets win. They cover the run line, which was about even. I believe might have been juiced 5 cents in the Mets' direction. But what you're seeing right there were the closing lines. This money line opened closer to $1.50 than where it closed at $1.75. So if you got the opening line, you got the CLV. Either way, I mean, I would say it was sweat-free. Although, I mean, it was close. It was like 2-0 after 5. It was close to start. But then the 6th, 7th innings became totally sweat-free. McNeil hit a home run. Nimmo. And the best part is I'm driving from LA to Vegas, and I'm somewhere in between Barstow and Baker, which is traumatic territory for me, because for those of you who have been following the entirety of our 8-9 month history here on Cashing Out, you remember the day of my first show, my car broke down right between Barstow and Baker. That is no man's land, ladies and gentlemen. There is absolutely nothing. And that's where I was for 4 hours on the day after Labor Day, back in September. So I'm driving through that same spot, and I got the MLB app on. I'm listening to the game. Boom, Mets have first and second, no outs, and I lose service. And then by the time it comes back to, Nimmo's rounding the bases. He busted it open, and then, I mean, just had a career day. I'd say a career day. It was a career back half, right? It was the 6th, or what was it, 6th, 7th, and 8th innings that he knocked in all 9 runs, 3 consecutive innings, the late innings of the game. Just an absolutely incredible performance. Hopefully he gets going. He's been batting $190 going back to the All-Star break of last season. Cross town from the Mets, the Yankees, even though they were on the road, not in the Bronx, but they lose in Baltimore 4-3. That's Sugano, I would say kid. He's a rookie. He's not a kid, though. I believe he's in his 30s, the rookie from Japan. He continues to shine. He improves to 3-1, 3 flat ERA. Will Warren gets the loss there as the Yankees were threatening with a comeback. They went down 4-0 early, scored 3 late, was not enough. Cincinnati gets home over the Cardinals, 3-1. Nick Martinez, first win of the year, low-scoring affair at Great American Ballpark. The Reds are now 16-13. And Minnesota with a statement win, an offensive explosion, 11-1. At Cleveland. Bailey Ober had that terrible first start, really inflated his ERA. Now he's 3-1 with a 4-1 as the Twins got 17 hits off of Cleveland, and the Guardians were forced to burn their bullpen for the final 7 innings of work. That covers pretty much every baseball game. Braves come out of the 8th unscathed, up 6-3. Matt Olson up top of the 9th. Draymond Green, grabbing jerseys and trying to pull guys to the ground with him. I mean, he's an ass. He's ridiculous. Guy gets fouled and now he's trying to pull guys to the ground. I mean, Draymond Green is really something else. The Rockets leading it 47-46, excuse me. 2:40 to go in the first half. If you're looking for some live action, Houston on the money line, plus 105. Golden State trailing by a point at home, minus 35 cents. The spread is 1.5 in each direction. If I was going to play it, if I wanted Golden State, I'd probably lay the 1.5. If I wanted Houston, I'd go plus 105 on the money line with that number coming in 1 and a hook. Folks, the NBA playoffs are here. So is the VSiN Killer Sports NBA Playoff Challenge. We've invited 15 sharp minds from the world of VSiN and Killer Sports to go head-to-head, making 38 picks each from the start of the playoffs all the way through the NBA Finals. That's a total of 570 NBA playoff picks, all available to VSiN Pro subscribers. Picks are locked and loaded 1 hour before the first game every day, so you'll have fresh insights to guide your bets every step of the postseason. Right now, you can get full VSiN Pro access through August 1st, just $59. Don't miss this playoff edge. Head to VSiN.com/subscribe and sign up today. What's going on out here with Golden State and Houston? Are they looking for technicals? I mean, come on. Get Draymond the hell out of there. Never mind that. He's just dirty. There's no other way to put it. Draymond Green is just dirty. I'm glad he didn't get that Defensive Player of the Year award. He didn't deserve it. More cashing out with Joe Ceraulo after the break.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
So it looks like it was a double technical on the floor. I believe Tari Eason for the Rockets got teed up. Don't quote me on that. It was Draymond, naturally, of course. Who else? For the Warriors. But I believe the verdict was a double T. Both teams got their free throws, and now Jimmy and Eason back on the ground. This is going to be a physical game. It's just the second quarter, folks. This is going to be a long night, and you're going to be locked into the entirety of this Rockets-Warriors finish with me, Joe Ceraulo, right here on Cashing Out. How about the terrific guests that we've got coming up on the program? In just about 15 short minutes, Andrew Cooper, lead NFL analyst over at Fantasy Alarm, is going to join us. We're going to break down his thoughts on the NFL draft and that's implications in the futures market, maybe some win totals, some teams, players you should target in your fantasy league, depending on maybe quarterbacks who got some new weapons this draft class. We'll dive into all that with Coop and more. In hour 2, Trevor Lane, host over at Lakers Nation, going to join us, see if his Lakers can claw out of this 3-1 deficit they're facing against Minnesota. I did see a really funny tweet earlier today, I'm not going to lie. So there's this whole debate going on Twitter, and if you folks are on Twitter, make sure you follow the show at the Joe Ceraulo. Tweet at us your best bets, your hottest takes. Tweet at us. We'll share it with the family here on Cashing Out. But if you are on Twitter, I'm sure you've seen this debate of who would win in a fight, 1 gorilla or 100 men. And some of the logic and some of the arguments that are coming out of this debate are absolutely hilarious. Whether it's, you got 100 charge the gorilla at the same time or form a perimeter, or after the first guy gets snapped in half, the other 99 guys are all running for their lives. It's been a really fun debate. And I saw someone say, if we had 100 LeBrons, they could take the gorilla. And someone replied, 1 LeBron can't take on 5 wolves. I don't want him going up against any gorilla right now. And I got a feel for LeBron because he's playing his butt off this series. And he just does not have much help. And people could say, oh, he's got Luka, and that's true. They don't have much help. The Lakers struggle with depth as much as any team in the postseason right now, or any team, I should say, that was viewed as a legitimate title contender in the postseason right now. That team is really not deep at all. I mean, you look at that box score from Minnesota's come from behind game 4 win, and Luka went off. LeBron had good numbers. Hachimura gave him 23. But we talked about it yesterday, right? You had 4 guys between 17 and 38 points because Reeves had 17. He's not pictured in that graphic on your screen. And then only 2 other guys scored the entire game. and they had like 2 and 6 respectively, right? Finney Smith had 6 in 41 minutes. Jackson Hayes had 2 in like 4 minutes. So the Lakers just zero depth. Minnesota really has more options at this point than the Lakers. Anthony Edwards dropping a 40 piece, Jules Randle, Jaden McDaniels with a double-double. And Minnesota, I think people forgot this was a team that finished just a game behind the Lakers in the standings, right? You're looking at a 3 versus a 6, and I think people got too into that seeding and not really into the fact that Minnesota was right there with the Lakers. That Western Conference was so bunched up and so close as Podziemski ties this one at 50 with a big 3 inside 2 minutes to go here in the first half. But this Western Conference was so close. And the seeding really didn't mean much. Even with home court advantage on the line, you look at the Clippers and Nuggets, they've each won a game on the road, right? You look at the Wolves and, I guess home court mattered the last 2 games. They were able to pull off big fourth quarter comebacks in each game, but they went right into crypto. Game 1, and the Lakers had the second best home record in the Western Conference this regular season. Minnesota blew them out. Game 1 was the big blowout in the series. Games 3 and 4 have been absolute nail-biters at Minnesota. So home court not meaning a whole lot. The young legs in Minnesota so far prevailing over the Lakers, and I have seen nothing that makes me believe the Lakers have a shot at rattling off 3 straight here. I love LeBron. I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. You'll hear me say this many times. To me, he's the best to ever lace him up. He's the GOAT, in my opinion. At, 40-something years old, he can't be asked to do it by himself. 46 minutes, game 4. And look, again, Luka was there. I get it. But the fact that LeBron couldn't take a break, the fact that their bench gave them, a combined 27 minutes outside of Dorian Finney-Smith, who just essentially replaced Jackson Hayes. And that's not exactly a 1-for-1 replacement, right? A wing for a center. This Lakers team is just not constructed in terms of size or depth to make a run. And I think we were so enamored with LeBron and Luka and the star power that they had that we ignored a lot of the other flaws and warts that LeBron and Luka were covering up. Looks like we've got a hard foul here. Dylan Brooks going for the fast break dunk. Gets taken down from behind. Sheesh. Common foul. He'll head to the line. Believe we're at 37 seconds to go, first half. First free throw, front rim, back rim, and out. Rockets' 5-point lead here holds. So we'll await the second free throw from Brooks. As we've gone final in Coors Field, Atlanta, 6 unanswered runs. They pull off the come-from-behind win, 6-3 over the Rockies. We bet them live, plus 2.5, laid 20 cents for it. And that gets home with relative ease. Avalanche threatening, trying to make a little comeback here. How about this? Brooks misses them both, and then the Rockets get a turnover and a dunk, and they're up 57-50. Inexcusable for Brooks to miss 2 free throws, though. Stars were up 3-0. They've scored again since, but it's now 4-2. Dallas leading with 3 minutes to go in the second period. They're laying 2.5 at plus money, plus $1.15 on the puck line. Abs plus 2.5, minus 45 cents. Money line, Stars are minus 750. Abs are nearly 5-1. Plus 470. Colorado down 2. Look, Edmonton kept getting mispriced yesterday in that incredible game between the Oilers and the Kings. And they were down 3-1, made it 3-2, and they were still, I believe it was nearly 4-1, plus 375. Maybe it was plus 325. Longer than 3-1, anyway you slice it. And I thought that was mispriced at that juncture in a 3-2 game. Sure enough, they tie it. Overtime comes, boom, they win it. So Colorado, you're getting them nearly 5-1. I know 2 goals is a lot to overcome here, but the Avalanche have offense. I don't mind that price. Am I going to play it? Transparently speaking, no. I don't mind that price. Just like out of transparency, I said yesterday, because I've got this Rockets futures ticket, I wasn't going to play this game and take the 4 that Houston was catching. Well, they're up 7 at halftime now. 57-50. We've officially reached the break. And the Rockets, who came into this, depending on the shop, as 3.5 or 4-point dogs, now 3.5-point favorites in this one. Let's see where I want to make sure, because I was on the road for a good chunk of the day. I want to make sure that this thing closed. Yeah, 4 at most shops, 3.5 right here at Circa, but only laying 5 cents if you were on the Rockets. I mean, not as big of a move as I would have anticipated with the Jimmy news. Maybe that was baked into the opening line. I thought it would have gone from 3.5 to maybe 5.5 with the Jimmy news, but I'm assuming based on the fact that this only moved about a half point at the places it did move. I've got to assume that that's because Jimmy playing was baked into that opening number with the Warriors laying 3 and a hook to 4. So Jimmy's out there, not doing a whole lot. I mean, playing defense, his usual Jimmy, but just 4 points, 2 boards, 2 assists, 18 minutes. Steph's got 10 points now. This Podziemski kid has 13, and Quentin Post, the big off the bench, has 12. So Steph's their third leading scorer. Jimmy's like 5th down the list. Even Draymond has more than Jimmy. Rockets have 3 guys in double figures as well. Van Fleet with 12, Şengün with 10 and 6 boards, Brooks with 11 and 5 boards for Dylan Brooks. Jalen Green, 8 points. Hasn't fully gotten going yet. Amen Thompson also has 8. So every starter has 8 or more. Houston with a really well-balanced offensive attack in this one. I don't know if I'd lay the 3 and a hook with the Rockets here, but, I did say yesterday I liked them catching the points. I thought that they would win this game outright. Live total coming in at 210.5. Juice to the over, I lean under. 57.50. That's what, 107. If that was to repeat, they'd be at 214, but I don't think it will. I would lean under that live number of 210.5. We see second half teams clamp down. They go cold for stretches. I like that under at 210 and a hook. Hey, folks, Edge Boost is the first ever bank account built for bettors, ensuring that all gambling transactions get approved. That means no usage fees, no minimums. It means you can earn cash back rewards and get 100% approval for all betting deposits. Sign up today, edgeboost.bet. Use the promo code CASH. Deposit $25. Edge Boost will match the deposit. That's edgeboost.bet. Let's try to see if we can give you some live player props. I don't know if it's he's not loading for some reason. Before we get to the break here, we've only got about 30 seconds left. Let's see if anyone stands out to me for live points. Curry's got 10. His over-under, 25.5, 15 cents to the over. Would need 16 in the second half. A guy like Curry can do it in the blink of an eye. I actually kind of like that. Let's see where Jalen Green's at. He's got 8 points. His over-under is 17.5. I like the Green over. I like the Steph over. Up next, Andrew Cooper joins us from Fantasy Alarm talking NFL. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Monday night, right on into your Tuesday morning for our friends, especially over on the East Coast here on VSiN. And with the conclusion of the NFL draft, we've got a better idea of what most of these teams are going to look like now. Still some big free agents out there, some annoying free agents. Aaron Rodgers, I'm talking to you. But most of these rosters we can get a pretty good feel for right now. So let's break them down with our friend from Fantasy Alarm, lead NFL analyst over there, Andrew Cooper, joining us now on the Progressive Guest Line. Andrew, how are you, my friend? And before we dive into some of these winners you've got, I've got to ask you about one team. I don't know if you have them as a winner, a loser, or if you're Switzerland on this one, but the Cleveland Browns, what do you make of that entire weekend that they had?
Yeah, man. Fireworks, right? They definitely watched draft day before this weekend because they were making moves. I mean, again, it all boils down to whether you like the trade out or not. I personally love Travis Hunter. I think he's a unicorn. I think he's generational. I would have just wanted the player.
Yeah.
But you know what? They were able to scoop up. And here's actually the other problem I have is that, and I know every player is different and it doesn't always translate this way, but the hit rate on third round QBs and especially later, but the third round is brutal. It's brutally bad. If you look at all the quarterbacks drafted over the last 30 years in the third round, Russell Wilson's the best one. You know who the second best one is in terms of fantasy points?
Right, I was going to say Russ. That was the one that came to mind, but I can't think of anything else. No.
There's a reason why. Matt Schaub is number 2, and the list only gets worse from then. I mean, it's just it's notoriously been a dead zone. So like Dylan Gabriel, if he's even serviceable, he'll easily be a top 3 quarterback. I mean, like guys like McCown. McCown is 4 on the list, right? It's just there's
Wow.
no hits in that range. And when you really start going through and picking the late round hits out, like Tom Brady is responsible for like 40% of the QB1 seasons from rounds like 4, 5, and 6. So in general, you really don't want to try and find a starting quarterback there. So I personally didn't love it. The grades seem to all be either A or F, right?
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
You know what's even crazier? And, people were told, how sick would it be if Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders ended up teammates in the NFL? And if Cleveland held the number 2 pick, it could have happened. I thought there was no shot it could have happened because I, thought Shedeur was a first-round quarterback. But these two could have been teammates at the next level. Any thoughts on who takes that first snap? We just ran the graphic up on the screen. Week 1, Kenny Pickett, currently the favorite. I like Joe Flacco at 3-1 in that market. I think he'll be their Week 1 quarterback. What do you think?
Yeah, and this is the problem that I run into, not just for betting these, but I'm not touching any of the lines for over-under win totals on this team because they have Flacco in their back pocket. And that guy can win games, you know what I mean? Like, not necessarily even win games. He can prevent you from losing games. It's kind of the way he plays. He plays a super high pace game that we love for fantasy football. So with these teams, same with a team like the Giants, like you don't want to bet the under on a team that can just swap in these other quarterbacks. So I think that Flacco is going to be the guy. I'm with you. I think that's good value at plus 300. And honestly, I think that when all is said and done, and this is why I can't grade this draft well, I think next year, the starting quarterback for this team is going to be Deshaun Watson. I truly believe that's the case.
Wow.
In 2026, not 2025. I think that they're basically doing what they're doing right now so that they can turn around and say, hey, you know what? None of these guys worked. We're going to give this guy one last shot because they're giving him so much money, and he's guaranteed to be on the team next year based on his contract and his no trade clause. So I really think that those 4 guys are going to end up not being a big impact, and he's going to be the starter, whether we like it or not.
Interesting. And if that's the case, then they wasted 2 picks on quarterbacks where they could have made the rest of the team around him better, especially that 3rd round. I wouldn't call taking Shedeur in the 5th round because that's a flyer. I wouldn't call that a waste, but I thought the Gabriel pick was an absolute waste. Let's get to a team that you love what they did. They shocked a lot of people. Not that they went tight end, but with the tight end that they selected, the Chicago Bears. What's your thought on their draft and their outlook for the season to come?
Yeah, the Bears ended up looking, because certain teams that made certain plays in the offseason, if you went out and got offensive line or defensive line this offseason, you look smart, especially defensive tackle, because those guys just went off the board, right? This team went out and grabbed a bunch of offensive linemen in free agency, like Joe Thuney and Drew Dalmar and these guys. So they took care of that part up front. And I still like the guy from BC that got, but that gave him the license to go for weapons. And that's what Ben Johnson's trying to do. He wants to recreate his type of offense there. They didn't get a running back. Kyle Managai is a good sleeper from Rutgers, kind of reminds me of Isaiah Pacheco, but they could still add like Nick Chubb and do that 2-back system. So, I mean, I really like the picks. And again, Luther Burden, if you want to go high risk, high reward, and I know teams don't let character guys slide if they believe in the talent, but the rumor is that he slid due to character, not talent. And if they think that they can turn him into their version of Amon-Ra St. Brown with a lot of underneath stuff and kind of scheme him up, manufactured touches, I mean, this team could be dangerous right away. I do like Caleb Williams. I think last year he might have been throwing the ball a little too hard, but it's easier to teach a guy how to put a little touch on it than try and give him a bigger arm, because that's not possible.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, by going for weapons, because you mentioned, the O-lineman they added in free agency, also the trade for Jackson to really fortify the guys up front. Now with these weapons, Loveland and Burden really has the benefit of having a deep receiver room around him, so he's not going to have sky-high expectations coming in here like maybe O'Dunes felt in his rookie season a season ago. But with all these weapons now for Caleb, what's your outlook on him from a fantasy perspective coming into the year? Is this a guy that you're chomping at the bit to get?
I think that right now is the best time, because again, there's only so many props out there. We can take a look at those. If anyone out there wants to create leverage on these rookies right now, it's through best ball. Best ball drafts, where you can go in and draft a bunch of teams on sites like Underdog or whoever else. Again, I don't want to throw any sponsors out here or whatever, but just any of those pages that have, any of these sites that have best ball, you can go and draft teams. You don't have to set the lineups. There's no trades. There's nothing. You can get a bunch of access. Myself, a bunch of other people that put teams through in May last year ended up in the last round of contests where you can win millions of dollars. You know what I mean? Where the floor is $6,000 if you make it to that last round. And my teams in May did best because what I did is I sat here and said, which quarterbacks got the weapons? Which rookies got the opportunity? So you're not necessarily betting on talent as much. In your dynasty leagues, bet on talent. In leagues like this, bet on opportunity. So you want guys like RJ Harvey. I don't care that he's 24 years old in a league that's only a 1-year league, right? And you go and draft him to be the guy playing with Joe Lombardi. Joe Lombardi's running back rooms for the 18 years he's been an offensive coach. All 18 years they've been top 5 in running back targets. All 18, Joe. So whatever the running back is going to be that starts for that team, that's a value. Bashal Tootin could start. Guys like Trey Harris, Kyle Williams, Pat Bryant, any of these guys that have the opportunity. I mean, even though I don't rank him as my tight end 1 or even one of my top 3 or 4, Mason Taylor could be the starting tight end for the Jets, right? Guys like Elijah Royal, look for that opportunity. Get some shares of these guys early before people are figuring out what's happening, before they realize, wait a second, who's the second best pass catcher on the Jets besides Garrett Wilson? Maybe it is Mason Taylor.
So, look, Andrew, I see all that Boston stuff behind you on the wall there, and I got to ask you about the Patriots. When they hired Vrabel, I said that they would be a playoff team, not this year, but in 2026. And I still believe this is a rebuilding year for them, but I think they might be better this year than I anticipated. What are your thoughts on their draft and their outlook moving forward?
Joe, that's why they pay you the big bucks, buddy. I think you got it exactly right that this year they did a good job with the draft, taking best available, right? Like a guy like Will Campbell, he could be the ceiling. Of course, people say he could be Zach Martin, the guy that never played guard but ends up playing guard. I kind of liken it to when the Jets took Elijah Vera Tucker. You just take the best possible guys with the opportunity you have, and you're still building towards the future. So I'm not going to go out and bet the over on the win total, but I think you got a better team than you had last year, and you picked very safe players. I mean, taking a tackle that could end up at guard, safe. Taking arguably the best pass blocking running back in this class that at worst it could end up like a James White type, at best could end up being, like one of the Ecklers and Kamaras of the world catching a million passes. Very safe. Kyle Williams, another guy they went out and said, let's just draft guys that are going to be part of this team, and then we'll save the high risk, high reward, hired gun type players for free agency and the drafts of the future. And I think that's what they did here, which is good if you're a fan, but if you're a gambler, I don't think you got a lot of action to be made on this team right now, especially if it's at 8.5.
Yeah. If I was saying if I could get 7.5, I'd look to the over, but 8.5 is just a tricky number. I don't know if they can get there.
Tricky. Right. It's a little too much for me, a little too rich, because there's other teams at 8.5 that I do like. I mean, I'll give you one right now. Seattle Seahawks. I love Clint Kubiak's scheme. They use a lot of 2 wide receiver sets, and they use the fullback, which we've seen teams like the 49ers, the teams like the Seahawks have a lot of success with that. They actually went and got this guy from Alabama. His name is Oots, right? And he is going to be a bruiser as a fullback. And they've already told him, Robbie Oots, they already converted him from tight end to fullback.
Interesting.
That's gonna really free up that run game. And they didn't even necessarily need to get more linemen because you have Rick Dennison, you have Kubiak, but they used their first pick on Greg Zabel. I really like what they did, quietly like what they did, and I love that over 8.5.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are selling on them because they let some key components go, but this team might quietly be a good one. Coop, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much for joining us, man.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Good luck out there.
Andrew Cooper, lead NFL analyst over at Fantasy Alarm, joining us on the Progressive Guest Line. More picks, more winners, more cashing out with Joe Ceraulo up next.
Here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, here on a Monday night. The Warriors have opened the third quarter with 6 unanswered points in 90 seconds. We'll fill you in on who's got those buckets as the Rockets try to get on the board and don't. Back iron on a corner 3. Now here come the Warriors in transition, looking to take their first lead since a few minutes earlier in the first half. But Curry has a bucket, Jimmy Butler has a bucket, and Buddy Hield all really at the rim. I mean, Butler was a little pull up in the paint, Hield a layup Curry more of a mid-range shot. So Golden State knotting things up here without a three as Jimmy has gotten to the line and hits the first free throw. They've gone from 3.5-point dogs at the break to now 2.5-point favorites here on a little Jimmy hits them both, so make it an 8-0 run to open up the second half for Golden State. That was terrific stuff from Andrew Cooper, lead NFL analyst over at Fantasy Alarm there, breaking down this weekend's draft. And, you know, the Bears are going to be such an intriguing team because I'll never forget when I had first started this show, I was taking an Uber. I was still staying here at Circa, taking an Uber back to Vegas Airport, and Uber driver picked me up, lady in a Bear shirt, and she was asking me what I thought about the Bears. I think it was right before week 1. So right before the regular season was ready to commence. And I told her, I said, look, I love Caleb. I like the team. I said, I think that they're a 7 or 8 win team, which for a rookie quarterback is great. And shoot, it ended up being better than, you know, the Bears ended up being. They started 4-2. They finished, 5-12. So I said, look, I think they'll win 7 or 8. I think people saying that they're a playoff team in his rookie year, those are lofty expectations. I think people are getting ahead of themselves. But I think the Bears will be a playoff team by year 2 with Caleb. And she didn't take that kindly. She goes, oh, well, what the hell do you know? And we drove the rest of the way to the airport in silence. Well, they started 4-2. She might have been right. They finished, 1-10. I was ultimately right. I do think, like I said, going into this past season, and like Andrew Cooper seems to believe, I do think the Bears have serious playoff potential this year. They've got, I think, someone who, I was going to say they've got a great head coach. We can't say that yet. He hasn't been a head coach yet. But they've got a great offensive mind in Ben Johnson. Like we discussed with Coop, they went out and they addressed the O-line prior to the draft so that they, unlike the Raiders, who, despite, I think, being in a position where they shouldn't have, took the luxury pick with the running back and Genti, the Bears had the luxury of equipping Caleb Williams with even more weapons. So they went about that draft the right way. Added 3 O-linemen in free agency and via trades. And then they come in here with the draft. And, I mean, look at this wide receiver room. I mean, how deep is it? DJ Moore, O'Dunes, now Burden comes in, and he doesn't carry the burden of having to be a number 1 receiver or even a number 2. He can come in and be their number 3. And you got Cole Kmet and Loveland now, so you have 2 tight ends who might be, as far as targets, who might be Caleb Williams' favorite, second favorite, third favorite targets. I mean, he's got 5 formidable targets in this receiving core. And then you've got some guys who I wouldn't scoff at, like Zacchaeus, right? And 27-year-old coming over from a really, I thought, underrated year in Washington. 500-yard season. Second time in his career, he's passed the 500-yard mark on 45 catches, 3 touchdowns. Look, if he's your number 4 wideout, I mean, I think Zacchaeus is a really good number 4 wideout. He's a guy who a lot of people were targeting in the prop market down the stretch. So I love the way that this Bears depth chart is shaping up. And I think this is a team that could win 9-10 games and potentially be a playoff team in year 2 for Caleb and year 1 under Ben Johnson. Actually, while I have this open, I'm going to check and see what their win total is, because if it is 8.5 for a team that won 5 a year ago, that's an over that I would heavily consider taking. So we got the Bears right here, and over 8.5 is plus money. I like that. At DraftKings, under 8.5 minus 125. Over 8.5 is plus 105. I mean, 8.5 was their total, a year ago? It was 8.5 a year ago. I would take that over at plus money. I think it might have been juiced a year ago, minus 15 cents or so. So I think the Bears, if you're getting a plus money at over 8.5, that might be a bet worth placing. And we'll see. I have a feeling, and look, I don't like tying my money up in April on an NFL futures that I'm not going to see in for another 10 months. But that might be a bet where the CLV is going to come now. I'd bet you over 8.5 for the Bears in August. You're going to have to lay money for that. Got more extracurriculars on the court. Amin Thompson shooting free throws for the Rockets. He hits one. That's Houston's first point in the second half, and it comes after 4 minutes. My goodness. Warriors had gone on a 13-0 run, made it 63-57, now 63-58. What the hell is going on with the Rockets? Golden State looks like there was a little bit of chaos trying to make a sub, some moving pieces. Might have distracted Thompson. He misses the second free throw. Houston not having a good night at the line. I mean, it's been, 3 missed free throws in their last 4 chances. Dylan Brooks missed a pair. They're just 11 for 18 at the line. Golden State's 11 for 11. Golden State's up 10 now. Holy cow. The Warriors are coming. NBA action earlier in the night had the Cavs and the Heat in South Beach. How about Cleveland? I thought that would be the series. That was the gentleman's sweep. I thought Boston would take Orlando in 4. I thought Miami would win a game against the Cavs. And I believe Cleveland set the record for the biggest margin of victory in a series. Who was that who hit the 3? Was that Buddy Hield? Finally having a game. He's done not much in the first few playoff games for the Warriors. Buddy Hield having a night. Golden State's up 10. 18-1 run in 4 minutes and 40 seconds here in the second half. Not good if you're Houston down 10 here. However, if you're live betting, you can come back and take them plus 8.5, assuming they're not going to be on the wrong side of an 18-1 run many more times here in this contest. So they've gone from laying 3 and a hook to catching 8.5. Money line now, Houston is 3-1. That total's still the same. Despite Golden State with 18 points in 4.5 minutes, that total still 210.5. And the money line, Warriors minus 425, Rockets 3-1. So the Cavs, as we were saying, took care of the Heat by a score of 138-83. I mean, they were up at the half. What was it? 72-33. Ridiculous. 40-point lead at the half, and they never looked back. They added on in the second half. They outscored them by 16. You'd think that that Miami would have cut into that deficit because it would have been so lopsided that Cleveland would have benched some guys, but nope. Second half, the Cavs just kept piling on. And much like, this was actually just like that Oklahoma City-Memphis game 1. No starter on Cleveland played more than 25 minutes. I think for the Thunder, their leader was 26 minutes in that game. So this was their bench that really piled on. And when I say their bench, I mean, maybe the best bench out there. Cavs and OKC have to be the 2 deepest teams, right? DeAndre Hunter, 19 off the bench. Ty Jerome, 18 off the bench. Javonte Green, 11 off the bench. Cleveland's bench might have outscored their starters in this one. What do they have here? 30, 40, 58, 69, 73 points out of their bench. Yeah, Cleveland's bench outscored its starters in this one. Donovan Mitchell had 22. Jarrett Allen, 14 and 12 boards. Mobley, 17 points, 7 boards, 2 blocks for your defensive player of the year. Deservedly so. Darius Garland didn't even play this game. They had to start Max Strus and Sam Merrill. I mean, Cleveland, that bench, you can argue, more talented than their starting backcourt, with the exception of Mitchell, of course. Right? Hunter and Jerome coming off the bench, better than Strus and Merrill, who combined for just 12. For the Heat, Nikola Jovic had 24 off the bench. Only 2 starters in double figures. Bam had 13 and 12. Wiggins had 12 points. Tyler Hero was just 1 of 10 from the floor. He got locked down. Had the worst differential on the team, minus 44 out there. He had just 4 points in Miami's final game of the year. So good story. First 10 seed to ever make it to the playoffs in this new play-in format. But Miami, look, I never took this team too seriously. I did think they'd steal one at home. Not to be. The Heat go home. Believe Cleveland outscored them by something like 122 points in that series as a whole. Most lopsided series in NBA history. The Stars have another. It's 5-2. Actually, they added another. I didn't even see it before the conclusion of the second period. So we're 6 minutes into the third, 14 minutes to go in that one. Dallas is up 3. That one feels over. How about the Florida Panthers and their flurry of goals in the third? I mean, they were down 2-1 after 2. And then they outscored Tampa. It looked like the road team was going to win each of the first 4. 3-0 Florida in the third period. They get there with a 4-2 win. They're going to Tampa for Game 5, looking to end things. The reigning Stanley Cup champs. What a game. More cashing out with Joe Ceraulo up next.